Can technology improve financial inclusion in Nigeria and across Africa? Let's take a look at some metrics, financial inclusion metrics from data that's been gathered. Access to formal financial services, 51% in 2020. This is from EFINA. Women, 45% as of 2020. Men have 56% access. Total financial inclusion, 64% in 2020. Should financial empowerment come before financial inclusion? Joining me now to discuss further, Emmanuel Ayodele Ojo. He's the CEO, MD of ChamSwitch, Fintech Company. Ayo, you're very welcome. Good morning to you.
Thank you, Rogers.
Great to have you. Let me start with this. Between fintechs like yourself, banks, and other players, where does the financial inclusion responsibility fall? Or is it a shared responsibility with that sector?
Thank you, Rogers. It's actually a collective effort, to actually drive financial inclusion. So we can't say it's just one stakeholder that, essentially drives financial inclusion. Everybody has a role to play. For instance, I would start from having a transaction account. Without a financial institution like a bank, or some fintech companies like wallet services, you can't hold your funds anywhere. In terms of the telecoms company, they aid the ability for communication between semi-rural areas and urban areas. Obviously, we know that a lot of these technology systems are hosted within the urban areas, right? And the essence of financial inclusion is trying to get these services across to semi-urban or rural areas. So without the impact of the telecoms company, it will be difficult to do that digitally, right? Or we'll still be in the brick and mortar phase. So I would say it's a collective effort. In terms of the fintech, they have to produce the software that will be used, by these individuals who need to have access to the financial services. So I would say essentially it's a collective effort.
Okay, great stuff. So that's the private sector now.
Yeah.
As far as the government, public sector is concerned, taking into account what you just said now, how do they fit in as far as the getting to those financial inclusion goals?
Interesting comment. Now, the government plays a key role, and that's where I would take it from financial empowerment. Essentially, you need to create financial literacy. And the government is well positioned to provide programs, educational programs that can let you know, have good knowledge and understanding of essence of financial products. What is financial inclusion? Having access to formal financial products. Now, you can't subscribe to something that you don't know or you don't trust. For you to get there, you need financial literacy. And that's the role government can play. And also policies, right? People want to be protected, that I will not lose money. So consumer protection, regulatory policies, the government also plays a key role here. Now, in terms of loans, in terms of risk assets, there isn't any risk assets provided by banks, that there isn't a policy that is in place by the Apex Bank, that is the Central Bank of Nigeria.
Yeah.
So your auto loan, your commercial loan, your different kinds of loan, there's a policy guiding it, by the Central Bank of Nigeria. So they have to have these policies in place before the credit services can be made available to the people.
Good stuff. All right. So you happen to be of the opinion that before we get to this conversation around financial inclusion, we've got to have a conversation around financial empowerment. Can you share your thoughts? Because we had a private conversation about this, very animated conversation. So yes, financial empowerment versus financial inclusion, chicken or the egg, which comes first?
Okay, I would say that for a more efficient and productive state, you would need to first drive financial empowerment.
Okay.
Because financial empowerment, for instance, an aspect of it is having access to credit services, which is a financial service, right? But then you have to be informed, of how this can increase your productivity, the outcome of your productivity. Otherwise you would not appreciate, what is being offered to you. Now, when we talk about financial inclusion, is the ability to have access to the formal products through value-added services.
Okay.
You have apps, you have a lot of softwares that is being made available for people to gain access to it. So I would say that it starts from financial empowerment, because people, what are you including
right.
if there isn't money to to be spent,
Right.
and then if you are working within your limited resources, you are not able to expand. So in terms of empowering you, it's also letting you know things that you can tap into, and then it doesn't stop there. Knowing what you can tap into, you also need to have these services made available to you,
right.
So I would say that the empowerment is first before you now talk about financial inclusion, but they still go hand in hand. Yeah.
Okay. The responsibility of financial empowerment, then, who has that responsibility?
Again, it's a collective effort between the private and public sector. Public sector in this time is government. Either one cannot work without the other.
Right.
So even when these policies have been created, right? For instance, the private sector needs this policy to be put in place so that the consumer would have trust, would have knowledge, would have understanding, and would have trust, in what they are offering. Now, even if government have created all of this, it doesn't end there. The government also needs the private sector, because it's the private sector that will drive access for the consumer to tap into these services.
So thank you for that. Now, the reality on ground, though, COVID-19, according to, I think it was the United Nations or World Bank, has pushed an additional 7 or 8 million Nigerians into poverty. So we have now the Russia-Ukraine crisis, bread prices going up, Naira depreciating. We've got all these issues. Does the poverty metrics, does that make this challenging as far as trying to get financial empowerment, financial inclusion? Does the reality on ground, does that make it challenging?
Well, ironically, I feel it's a wake-up call for all of us, right? So statistics shows that in 2020, 2021, Nigerians' importation of wheat, because that's the main interest in Russia and in Ukraine, has grown over 800 billion worth of naira. And it's not just Russia. We buy for a lot of countries. We buy from America, we buy from Canada, we buy from different countries in the world. But obviously, they are the highest producers of wheat as at today. But bringing it back home, do we produce wheat? Yes, we do. Mostly wheat is produced in the northern part of Nigeria. But we are aware that the northern part of Nigeria is faced with a lot of security challenges. And this is where the empowerment comes in. This is where government comes in. So part of the empowerment is protecting the stakeholders. And that's why the government, through the military, is also protecting the farmers in that region. They're doing their best to protect the farmers in that region. But from taking it away from security, and another aspect of security is actually investing, in more infrastructure that can aid more production. As the African continent has no business importing anything that has to do with food,
right?
Particularly Nigeria. So statistics shows that in 2016, over 60,000 metric tons was produced in wheat by Nigeria. Now, in recent statistics, as of 2020, that has reduced by 50%, so about 36,000 metric tons. So that's to show you the impact of the reliance on importation of wheat. But the point I'm driving home here is that we can actually, come home, look at how to actually invest, educate ourselves, and then grow the economy. So talking about Russia and Ukraine, I would look at it from a wake-up call perspective. And beyond Nigeria, somebody will ask, okay, now that there are security challenges faced by the northern farmers, it doesn't mean that we have to be limited. There are other African countries that we can collaborate with. So it should also encourage Pan-African trade. So.
All right. In fact, speaking of insecurity, today's headline, this day newspaper, the army has now recalibrated to face terrorists and so on across the northwest. Wheat is grown, so we wish them luck with that. How's your journey at ChamSwitch been this year so far? We're talking about challenges. Have you navigated the challenges as a fintech company?
Oh, well, so the good thing about fintech is that majority of what we do is virtual. So even with the occurrence of COVID, it actually brought more relevance to what we do. A lot of businesses have been able to bring their operations to the internet space, and also our customers. We've also been working very closely with some international groups. For instance, the China UnionPay, we are in partnership with China UnionPay. They're the largest card schemes in the world and everything. And we've also also be working with some existing card schemes here in Nigeria.
Yeah.
So we're looking at doing a whole lot of stuff, particularly in the underserved market. We've been working closely with the microfinance banks as well, and some commercial banks. You know, so you know us as Champs, just like the recent awards to us.
Fintech Award, right?
Fintech Award,
yeah,
right?
Congrats.
Thanks a lot. So we got the Platinum Award by the Financial Technology Association of Nigeria.
Yeah.
And this just goes to show that we take interest, we take pride and interest in doing setting a pace in everything that we do. So take, for example, some of the national projects that we've done, the BVN project.
You were part of that?
Yes, we actually implemented the BVN. It's a central bank project, you know, and we implemented it, and now it's managed by NIPS, the database is managed by NIPS.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So we've been involved in a lot of national projects, telecoms industry, and all of identity-related national ID, and a lot of
NIN and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Finally, just about minutes to go, what's your outlook for tech, the sector? The startup bill was passed. I've been waiting for the president's assent. I mean, there's moves made to try to get things going for tech. What's your outlook for the rest of the year, 2023?
What I believe is that we will continue to evolve. We are a population of about over 200 million people, according to statistics. So hopefully by the end of this year, our population would have grown. Probably by the end of 2025 or 2050, if you like, our population should have doubled. So fintech serves consumers. Consumers are people, institutions. So as long as we have increase in population, we are going to have increase in innovative solution. When we have increase in innovative solution, we're going to have increase in FDI, foreign investment into Nigeria. If we have that, we need to have more regulations to, particularly consumer regulations, to protect the consumers and also to regulate the space, because fintechs can also be vulnerable to associated risk. So I see a whole lot of it, but the interesting part that I'm getting to like is that the foreign community are beginning to focus on our human assets. So unlike when you used to have a situation whereby you needed to relocate from Nigeria to get a foreign job, now you can
work here, and earn in dollars.
So you are now working with your Nigerian passport, having a foreign job, working with your Nigerian passport in Nigeria and in foreign currency. And what affects the exchange rate? It's when you have foreign currencies, buying into commodities, local commodities in Nigeria. The local commodity here is intellectual property. We have very brilliant youth, honestly. So, there you have it.
Optimistic take. We appreciate that. Emmanuel Ayodele Ojo, MD, CEO of the award-winning ChamSwitch. Thank you so much for your time talking financial empowerment, financial inclusion. Appreciate it.